I was thinking about this based off of a video that was sent to me from my homeboy while I was in the gym today. And you guys will definitely enjoy it. And this is going to be one of those live streams where the chat is going to be heavily involved. And you guys know that we have broken down the different archetypes of black men, the different archetypes of black women. We've, discussed ratings. But I think the best way to do this is to use the backdrop of Patrice O'Neal's 1 to 30 or 0 to 30 rating scale. And instead of just keeping it at the women, we're going to try and create a rating scale to help both men and women understand that there are different pools in where people find dating, find wives, and find sex, and find people to have kids with. And we're going to separate those as best possible. And I thought about this a lot. I didn't have enough time to work it out and get the particulars, which is why I'm relying on the chat to be heavily involved in this. Now, this is by no means of me trying to undermine what Patrice O'Neal said. If anybody in these spaces know Patrice, I know Patrice very well. I actually found Patrice later on after he had passed. I know he was on the Dave Chappelle show, and he did the Players Ball.
The next nominee is Pitbull. Pitbull!
Finally. But the first time that I heard his name mentioned outside of that was on The Brilliant Idiots with Charlamagne the God and Andrew Schultz. And they used to mention Patrice O'Neal, Bill Burr all the time. So I decided to, go down this rabbit hole, pause for the young folks, and I found his content. And that's when I found Opie and Anthony. I found the Black Dr. Phil, and I found all of his comedic tapes. Well, like I said, I want to present this rating scale, how he describes it, to the chat, because there's a lot of people that may not have heard it before, but you have heard the 1 to 10 rating scale. And personally, I think that's a little bit more restrictive outside of what we're attempting to do in these spaces. Now, the reason why I'm revisiting Patrice O'Neal's 0 to 30 rating scale is because times have changed. Social media has heavily influenced the dating market, and I'm pretty sure you guys can agree to that. So now we have to understand where both men and women land in, the dating pool, or the different dating pools that are out there. And I have some great videos to explain what I'm talking about. I have some pictures that I'm going to discuss, and I'm going to be involved in this as well. So you guys won't feel offended, because I know it's a lot of guys, you guys don't take kindly to critique. So I'm going to critique myself. I'm explaining this beforehand, before there's anybody coming to chat and like, oh man, Patrice O'Neal's 0 to 30 is already perfect. I've seen a couple of comments already, but I do this all the time. I look at the dating market as a whole and try and help both men and women understand where they land. So let's get to it. Fair use, Patrice O'Neal 0 to 30 rating scale.
This is one of the things me and my boys thought up one night, is how to size up a woman. And you know how we go the scale of 1 to 10 usually? Like, what you give her, 10 or blah. A lot of times, you might give a chick a 6. That's really like ugly, but we trying to be like not mean. So if you're a 6, that's still just too close to 10. So it gives her more hope than she really deserves, So we came up with a method from 1 to 30, right? But we chopped it down to 3 categories in that 30. You have ugly women, you have all right looking women, and then you have beautiful women. So let's say the number 21. That means you are an ugly ass beautiful bitch. You understand what I'm saying? That makes sense? So at 15, you are a alright looking bitch. I'm not looking, she's looking, I'm not saying, I'm just looking at you, but if you want the number, I'm not gonna give you the number, because it's the numbers in my own head. But you can have the number on yourself. Like, you could decide what number you want. What number would you say you were? I'm not gonna attack you. Just you have to believe in yourself. See what?
So watch how Patrice sets this up. He's, typically when women, rate themselves, they always rate themselves a 10 or a 9 if they're trying to be safe. So he's leaving it up to her to rate herself. Here we go.
I mean by how men have to create. Like if I say a number, she'll be mad if it ain't 30. But what number would you give yourself? See? Now you can be 21. That's a look at. I think a fine ass. I look at bitches are great. 20's great. That's less pressure. But if you move into fineness, now here, if you think you're 21, Nicole, listen. Let's say there's a club. Let's say there's a nightclub called Fine Ass Fine Bitch. And every woman was allowed to get in line to go into Club Fine Ass Fine Bitch. But if you get to the door and you're not a fine ass fine bitch, you get to get hit in the head with a baseball bat. Would you be confident enough to go to Club Fine Ass Fine Bitch?
That was the best part to me of his rating system, because if a woman, let's say using the old 10 scale, right? If a woman rates herself a 10 and you introduce consequences like Patrice O'Neal did, he said if there was a club called 10s, right? Club called 10s. And if you consider yourself a 10, which typically most women do, you get to stand in line in Club 10. But if you get to the front of the door and they deem you not a 10, then you're going to get hit in the head with a baseball bat. How many women, based off of what you guys hear on social media, would still stand in that line for Club 10? Not a lot. That's why I always tell men to stop arguing with women when they rate themselves a 10 or higher, when you looking at this woman and you can see something is a little bit off, okay? Because the market, which is the consequences, will decide. So essentially what Patrice O'Neal did was make the 30 scale. So when you have 15 right there in the middle, it's still high, but it's not close to 30. It's average. Whereas if a woman rates herself a 6, that's less than 10, but it's too close to 10. So yeah, so that's why I love Patrice O'Neal's rating scale, because he introduced consequences at the end. And the best example that I can use for this is going to the clubs in LA and Miami, especially for the women.
Do you know how brave you have to be as a black woman to be trying to get into clubs in Miami? A black woman, a plus size woman, girl, stay your ass in the house. They're not letting you in.
Because men, we got to pay to get in the club. If you want to get into one of those upscale Miami clubs, if you don't know somebody, you got to pay high price for a table. And I'm talking about a regular guy. I'm not talking about entertainers. Let's say you're a regular guy who has a lot of money. Nobody knows you. You have no status. You have no clout in those particular areas. So you're going to have to pay top notch for a table. Now, women, it's a little bit different. They want beautiful women in these clubs, right? So in LA, you can go to a club as a woman, but there's only going to be certain women that's going to get in for free. And if you're not one of those women, then you're not a 10. And then, of course, you can blame it on colorism. You can blame it on superficial standards, and they just don't like this or they just don't like that. But if you're not objectively beautiful to everybody, which there are some women that are, then you will get those privileges. Women call it pretty privilege. If you are not a recipient of pretty privilege as a woman, then you will have a tough time on the dating market. And I don't know if you guys know who Daniel Tosh is. Tosh.0, you remember that show? He had one of the funniest jokes, and women hated him for it. He said, if you're an ugly woman, it's kind of like being a man. You're going to have to work a little. It is that simple. But when you got pretty privilege, you ain't got to do all that. People going to move mountains just to be around you. Now, going to the men, he made his rating scale based, for women. Now that social media is around, men understand where they lack and they should be moving towards getting better. So if and let's just be perfectly honest, and before we get into this, let me preface it with this. I am 5'8" 3/4. So I am not absolved from being short. I'm average height, but I'm short compared to what women say on social media. What is the height that most women say that they want?
How tall are you?
5'3".
What's the minimum height that you would date in a guy?
6 foot. Because I want no short.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
All right, what's the minimum height you would date in a guy?
Has to be 6 foot or over.
How tall are you?
4'11".
All right, what's the minimum height you would date?
The minimum height I would date is probably about like 6'1", 6'2".
How tall are you?
5'5".
All right, what's the minimum height that you would date in a guy?
6 foot.
All right, why say that?
Because my brother is 14 and he's 6'3".
How tall are you?
5'6".
All right, what's the minimum height that you would date?
6'2".
All right, why say that?
Because my exes are all 6'5".
How tall are you?
5'4".
What's the minimum height that you would date?
6 foot.
Why say that?
Because that's just what it's supposed to be at this point.
Damn near every woman says that they want a man who's above 6 feet. Okay? That's a rating scale for men. Now, how much money do women think a man should make in order to date her? Over 100,000 or more. It's very simple. We understand the rating scale, even though you may not agree with it, which is the same thing that women don't agree with. They don't like to get rated. Just like men don't like to be placed in this, this category of being relegated to, I need to make $100,000 or more before I'm even considered, or I have to be 6 feet or higher for a woman to, to appeal to most women. Does this make sense? Okay, so now this is why I wanted to introduce the rating scale for both men and women to understand. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break it down into 3 different categories. You got 0 to 10, you got 11 to 20, and then you got 21 to 30. Now, before we start, I want to say this before anybody gets offended, both men and women. I can't see your character on social media. I can't see if you're a God-fearing person. I don't understand how sensitive you are to certain issues. I don't know where you stand in regards to who you vote for. So none of that stuff is going to be added because we cannot quantify it. Because I know somebody, well, that doesn't include character.
Fellas, get your money up. I don't know what to tell you. I try to tell the ladies that characters matter. They don't give a shit about what I got to say. Fuck that character. Rob a bank. I don't know what to tell you. I was trying to tell the ladies, don't focus on the money, focus on the character. They said, fuck you, Kendra. Where the cash at? Where the cash at? So fellas, I'm sorry. I tried. Rob a bank. That's the only way you get a woman in 2025. I don't know what else to tell you.
We rarely have conversations about a person's character when we talk about dating. Can we be honest about that? All right, so let's get to it. Now, the modern rating scale, you got money, attractiveness, in shape for your age, and I put that in there for a reason. Dating history, children, divorce, have you been divorced, negative/positive attitude, negative/positive disposition of the opposite sex. You guys know how important that is because of social media. It's a lot of women out here that are attractive. However, they hate black men. And you guys would consider her maybe lower on the scale. All right. So negative/positive about dating, marriage, relationships, acceptance of gender roles, leader/follower. Does the opposite sex perceive you to be a good choice for marriage? Now, out of the 3-4 years that I've been doing this social media content, these are the popular discussions that we have in regards to relationships. So I put them all in a little succinct list so you guys can see them. And now there may be some missing. I understand that, can you cook? Things of that nature. We don't know. We'll just leave that out there, maybe add it later on. But those are the things that we hear on social media. Now, the examples of who would be 0 to 10. And I know you guys seen this. So 0 to 10s would be baby mamas with multiple children by multiple men, broke women, broke men, men with multiple children by multiple women, men/women with negative positive perception of the opposite sex. Now you go to 11 to 20s, maybe married before, but had a child or children while married. You guys, and let me say this. I learned this from these male-centric spaces. You guys put women who were married and had their kids within wedlock in a different category than women who are baby mamas. I never understood why that was the narrative. And I get, yes, she was married, she did it the right way, but at the end of the day, you still got to take care of them buckaroos. Does that make sense, gentlemen? So yes, I understand why you separate them, because yes, she tried, I guess, but then you guys will ding those women for getting divorced because you know that women initiate, 70-80% of divorces? So, but I never understood the monetary aspect of it, because I hear men complain about having to provide for another man's kids, but then you put women who were married and had kids in a different category. Okay? Because then just think about the end result. The end result, you still got to pay for 2 kids if she had 2 kids while married, or 2 kids, out of wedlock. Somebody explain why y'all separate that. I don't know. Okay, so that's why that's in there. Let's see here. In shape / not in shape. Can or can't afford a house or her household income responsibilities, attractiveness, etc. All right. Now, 21 to 30. These are the rich folks at the top. Married before, but had a child or while married. Negative / positive perception of the opposite sex. In shape / not in shape. And then attractiveness, etc., etc. Okay, so you see how these are broken down, and the reason why I put 21 to 30 for rich for both men and women is because you can meet that metric of having a lot of money, but you could have a negative disposition about the opposite sex, which would make you lower on the totem pole of the 21 to 30. And I have some examples that I'm going to show you guys that you guys are going to recognize easily. So that's your boy. That was actually my first year in the military. I don't think I was in the military for more than 7 months at the time. This was back in 1999. 7 months, and I was already in desert warfare training, about to go on my first deployment to El Jabber Air Base, Kuwait. Now, if you had to rank where I would land on this rating scale in regards to, being in shape, attractiveness, children. I didn't have children. Negative, positive disposition. No, but I wasn't making a gang of money. All right. You consider me poor. I think I was an E2 at the time. All right. And you don't get paid a lot of money. Now, the reason why I'm using myself is because first, I don't like rating guys because I'm a grown ass man and I don't rate a guy's looks. However, we will talk about the money aspect and the status aspect, but for myself, of course. So, and this was before I had braces. My teeth was all jacked up. I weighed all of 145, 150 pounds. It's funny, I didn't even hit my growth spurt at the time. I grew 2 inches after this. I don't know how, it just happened. All right. So yeah. So this was your boy. So if I'm rating myself, I would be in the 0 to 10 category. Just being honest. And honestly, having a stable career, I would rate myself a 6 at the time, 6 out of 30, because I wasn't doing very well. So you see, I could be honest with myself. And on top of that, I was short. So I didn't meet the money aspect. I didn't meet the height aspect. And I also didn't meet the in shape aspect. I was skinny, but I didn't meet that. So I can be honest with myself because I did have a career. I was on a 6-year contract. So I had some stability. So I had a little bit of bread, consistently coming in. So I'll rate myself a 6. I didn't have no kids, so that doesn't ding me. So I would say I was a 6 out of 30. Simple. Now you understand where I'm going with this? I use myself so y'all won't get offended. I gotta coddle men's feelings in these spaces. It's wild work. Okay. This is me at 45 years old. Now, I mean a gang of different metrics. You know what I'm saying? The in shape. I'm still not tall. I'm average height, but we do well for ourselves. Let's just say that much. To the point that I would be in that 21 to 30 category based off of that. However, like I said, if I was single then I'm not at the height of your NBA players, your entertainers. And I'm going to use an example here in a second. I'm not up there. I can't go to a Miami club, even though I may be doing well for myself. I'm not a basketball player, okay? I'm not a basketball player. So I can't show up and be like, hey, man, let me get into this club. No, my ass got to pay. So I don't have the status as them, so I cannot rate myself a 30 if I was single, okay? So I'm using myself for example. So I would say I would probably be in the low 20s, maybe a 22 or a 23 if I'm being safe. Because of the fact that I am short, I don't have as much money as the uber rich people, but I'm doing well. But I am in, the best shape possible that a 45-year-old man can be. And I know this because damn near everybody fat. Make sense? So I would say, adding that, I'll be about a 23 because I'm going to ding myself for being short and I'm going to ding myself for not being as rich as the entertainers and basketball players. Now, they may be lacking in other areas, but what are men judged on? Your resources, how tall you are, your money. I'm not there yet, okay? I don't have the status of them. So I'll be considered like a 23 or something like that. Now, do y'all understand what I'm talking about? Anybody got, what I'm saying? So, and you can do this for yourself. Okay? So if you looking at this and you like, oh man, that makes sense. I'm a man and I could rate myself. Go ahead and do so. Feel free. But now you guys are definitely going to enjoy this because it is, since I'm a heterosexual man, even though I'm married, women are my business. Black women are my business. So we're going to discuss black women and we're going to have y'all rate, where do you think these particular women land? And I got some great examples of women that you guys may know. Yeah.